The following is sponsored programming and does not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Good afternoon and welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Providence Holy Cross Medical Center, Hestia Med Spa, and Comfort Keepers in Home Care. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Thomas Polucki,
on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our guest this afternoon, gee, Merry Christmas, is Dave Nassani.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's catching, isn't it?
It is the Senior Hour after all. So Dave,
Don't rub it in.
Oh, I'm happy to be a senior.
There we go. There we go. So, Dave, normally I am the guest, the fourth Saturday Senior Hour.
Are you all right this morning?
The fourth Wednesday of the month, but I have brought a guest because, people may not know that I am a practicing doctor here in town. I know, Barb, and hopefully we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but I wanted to bring in Dave because we've gone a ways together.
Maybe 15 years, I think.
More than 15 years. Oh. So when I met you, you were a gas station owner, a coffee shop owner, and on top of that, a full-time caregiver to your wife for going on 26 years now.
Gosh, no wonder I'm so tired.
There you go. Yeah, definitely entrepreneurial to say the least, but the stress of literally carrying that load was beating up your body a lot.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it was my mother who was going to see you, and she kept saying what a great chiropractor you are, because I was seeing another one who would crack me like a pretzel.
And roll you over and twist you and turn you. Like
and
you're
then
gonna
5 minutes after I get in my car, I'm cracking myself because it was just temporary. So I figured I'd try it, and you were very different. I mean, you didn't crack me. You spoke to me for a long time, and you have cute little tools that you put on me, and I can't even remember what pain I had in those days. I think it was my back, and the doctor wanted to. Well, first of all, I've had years of injections, the cortisone injections, and that helped. But then after a while, the injections didn't help anymore, and they says, we're running out of options. I sent you to physical therapy. I sent you to a pain management doctor. And surgery is next. So I was never in a hurry to get surgery because you always hear about the horror back surgery stories. Yes. And so I figured I'd try you, and you were very positive. You says, it'll take some time, but we can do this. And I says, well, how? And he says, well, the cartilage will just shrink. And I says, well, don't we need cartilage? And he says, well, not really. And so it did take several months, maybe 9 months or so. And then one day I was at church and I felt something in my back, and all of a sudden the pain stopped. And I was able to stand for 45 minutes. Before that, I couldn't stand or walk for more than 5 minutes. And that was hampering my career, my second career, which is speaking. And I travel all over the country, speak on television and stages. I wrote 4 books. And I remember having to borrow my wife's power wheelchair because we had a backup. And I was going through the plane terminals in a power chair and getting special treatment from the airlines. But now I can walk on my own, thanks to Dr. Polucki.
Terrific.
Yeah,
terrific.
You can't buy that kind of advertising.
You absolutely cannot.
Yeah. So, Barb, you had a similar experience.
That's right.
Most people think of the kind of chiropractic that you both experienced prior to meeting me when they hear the word, and it scares 9 out of 10 people away from ever trying chiropractic. And I used to be mad all the time because 9 out of 10 people wouldn't give me the time of day. but I stopped defending the entire profession a long time ago and just focus on people like you who are willing to try something different. And so, Barb, you had a similar experience, yes?
Yes, I was in an automobile accident and had some pretty severe back problems because I was the driver and they came into my driver's door and crashed right in the middle of an intersection. He was an elderly man who ran a red light.
A senior, huh?
Yes,
Two seniors meet on the road.
that's right.
Yeah, she's underplaying this a little bit. It was a Jaws of Life thing, right? He crushed your
Wow.
car.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
it was no minor fender bender.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. They had to literally take the doors off
Wow.
to get me out because they couldn't open it. They couldn't budge it.
And how long ago was that?
That was 6.
Something,
Yeah,
something
6
like
years
that.
ago,
Yeah.
6 or
Recent.
7 years ago. Yeah, it hasn't been that long, really, when you consider automobile accidents,
5 or
But-
6 years ago was like that for a senior.
You aren't kidding there.
I was
You
21
aren't
last
kidding.
week, and now I'm 69.
I got you beat by a long way.
Good.
But anyway, I went to Tom, and after a period of months, my pain was completely gone. And I attributed that to the treatment that Tom gave me, which was not the typical chiropractic where you put you on a table and they twist you and turn you. And I always felt like I was going to fall off the table. And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that makes you worse. That
Yeah.
tenses you.
Yeah, you tense up.
And so the chiropractic is really not worth it, because it really doesn't do any good. But you used all kinds of electronic devices that really, really helped.
Yeah, he has a lot of toys. I call
That's
them.
it, toys. There you go. He loves playing with
Expensive
his toys.
toys.
Yeah, it's all good. But the key is, like you both have witnessed, it's not necessary to twist and crack in order to really help people significantly with their spinal injuries. In fact, I don't recommend anybody getting twisted or cracked if they have a spinal injury. Think about this for a second. If you twist your ankle, like really seriously twist your ankle, how much sense does it make to go and get it twisted up 3 times a week? I mean, I just don't get it.
No.
I don't understand. And yet
Ouch.
there are the majority of chiropractors who will defend this to their last dying breath, that this is the way that things must be done. And God bless them. I'm not here to argue. I don't really care what they do, as long as people are open to the possibility that that's not necessary. And a lot of people prefer this once they find someone like me out there, which isn't necessarily easy to do.
No, it isn't. I met this one guy who's in my mastermind group, and he called himself a functional medicine doctor, but the word chiropractor was in his title somewhere. It was a very long title. And I thought we were friends. 4 years I've known him, and we were in the same group, a business associate, and he heard me clearing my throat because I guess seniors clear their throat a lot. Ever since I turned
Really?
55, I'm always coughing up this junk. And he says, I can help you with that. I says, no, everybody's tried. No, really, I could do it. I says, well, I've tried taking antihistamines. I've tried elevating myself when I sleep, some kind of allergy. He says, no, come to my office, $300. So he charged me full retail, of course. And even though I was a friend and a business associate, and I had to fly to San Rafael, which is near San Francisco. I don't know how he talked me into that, but he did. And when I got there, I left with a bunch of herbs and stuff, a big box full, and a $2,000 bill. And I had no idea that was going to happen. And in the midst of this, because I've been seeing Dr. Polucki for over 15 years, and I don't let anybody crack my neck or anything. And before I knew it, he was doing all this weird stuff to me, pushing down on my arm and having me hold something with the other hand and then putting something else in my hand and pushing my arm down and then pretending he's pushing my arm down, but he wasn't really pushing it down. And looking at the wall at all his hundreds of stuff, zinc and iodine and this and that, things I never even heard of. And I just said, what are you asking your spirit guide what to give me? And he laughed. He says, no, it's not like that. And I mean, I felt very uncomfortable. I felt intimidated. And I'm not a guy who intimidates easily. But I don't know why I let him continue. And next thing I know, he's got my neck. And before I could say anything, he goes, wacko. And, I said, ow. I didn't know you were going to do that. He says, well, So anyway, I get back with all this stuff, and I'm trying to follow this diet that he's given me, which is very, very restrictive. He says he's got all my blood tests that I gave him, and he says, oh, well, you have kidney disease and you have heart problems, and not really. I had creatine in my kidneys once, and my blood pressure is like borderline, and he keeps telling me that I'm sick, and that I need all this stuff. And so the next day, I am flat on my back. I can't get up. I can't walk. I can't stand. And I'm literally disabled. I'm back in my wife's wheelchair, which had been like 3 years. And it was the weekend. I couldn't go see Dr. Polucki. And I called him up and I says, what did you do to me? He says, no, don't let anybody touch you. And I says, well, who's going to touch me? You're in San Francisco. I have to work. He says, no, just rest. He says, it was that slice of tomato that you ate that I told you not to eat. And he says, a slice of tomato is giving me sciatica pain at level 10. And that's when I says, this guy's wacko. And so I tried to bear it out. And then Monday came around and I went to go see Dr. Polucki, the first time I ever went to see him in a wheelchair. And he says, what happened to you? And I was a little ashamed to tell him because I felt like I got conned and, I was a little embarrassed, but I told him because he was going to get it out of me anyway. And so he says, wow, this guy took you back to square one. We took 3 years to get you to this point. I don't know if well, we'll try, but I don't know if we're going to get you back. Hopefully you don't need surgery or anything like that. But the next day, I walked out of his office. I came in a wheelchair and I walked out on my feet. And the next day I felt great. And so I dodged a bullet. He says, wow, you're really, really lucky because you could have been on a surgeon's table.
Yeah. That would not have been fun.
No, it's not. And this is why I no longer defend my profession. I mean, there are knuckleheads in every walk of life.
Oh, absolutely.
But when people give me the stink eye when I say the word chiropractor, I don't take it personally. They have no idea what goes on in my office because they may have had an experience like you did.
Yes.
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 And Barb, prior to you coming to my office, you had a similar experience. Mm-hmm. Not that it hurt you so much, but that you were spending a heck of a lot of money in a place that wasn't helping you.
No, it absolutely wasn't.
And I told the guy, I had $800 worth of stuff he gave me. I says, I want to return. He says, no, you saw what you signed. No returns, no refunds. And this is my friend, right?
Right, yeah.
Not
Some
anymore.
friend, yeah.
Not anymore.
With friends like that, who needs enemas?
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a lot of stuff if you want to buy some.
No, thanks. We have our own line of top shelf nutraceuticals, as Barb can attest to.
Absolutely.
I just chalk
take
it up
every
to
day.
experience, $2,000, is like an education, tuition.
Yes.
And again, so you mentioned a word there that this audience may not be that familiar with, functional medicine. This guy claimed to be functional medicine. This is one of my fields that I am passionate about. I am board certified by 2 different organizations as a functional medicine practitioner, and I am actually the medical director of a functional medicine program with over 300 practitioners in America. So again, just like chiropractic, when you hear these horror stories about functional medicine, know that it isn't always this circus sideshow that you experienced. or the buy $800 of supplements in order to treat a problem. Now, what you didn't say is after this whole thing went on, I saw the correspondence because you were sharing it with me as it was happening in real time. The correspondence was ultimately, he said, change your mouthwash, right? Right.
Yeah.
After all of this, after $2,000, putting you in a wheelchair,
And that'll solve my phlegm in my throat.
the
And he
mouthwash.
wanted to see me
Change
again.
your
And he wanted to
mouthwash.
Change your mouthwash.
He wanted to see me again in 3 weeks, and how much would I walk out of there
Right.
shy on my checkbook that time? So I just had to break it off.
Yeah.
It's
I
like a bad
understand.
girlfriend, you just got to end it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is crazy. But the good news is you're back. It didn't take
Thank God.
any kind of extended treatment because I honestly didn't know. I wasn't trying to scare you. You scared me. You show up for the first time in our entire relationship, 2 decades.
That's right.
You show up in my office in a wheelchair. I'm like, what the heck? I took you back from, was it an 8mm prolapse?
It was a 4 millimeter bulge that increased to 8 millimeters. That's when they wanted to do the surgery.
Yeah.
And then I went back after I started feeling better, and they says, because I was getting MRIs and stuff, they were ready to do the surgery, and they says, "Whoa!" I says, "What?" And he says, "That's funny. Your 8 millimeter bulge shrunk down to 4 millimeters. You don't need a surgery anymore. Join a gym and work on your core." And that was good news for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you acted like you expected it. See, I told you it was going to shrink.
Well, I was telling you the whole time.
Well,
for a
it was
year, I
hard
was
to
like, "We
believe.
can
It
do
was
this.
hard to believe,
We can do this. We can do this." And the whole time, you're like, "No, I don't think so. I don't
It's
think
the
so."
pain. It's the pain that I don't like pain.
No, nobody likes pain. But sometimes, covering up the pain isn't the best answer. And sometimes the best treatments don't necessarily make the pain go away right away. But as soon as, your pain went away and you got the new MRI, you saw that, I wasn't lying to you the whole time because we measured. And that's part of what you guys were talking about. We have a bunch of technology to make sure not just, oh, how do you feel today, but make sure that you are getting better. Your alignment is better, your balance is better, your coordination is better. And we measure these things to make sure that you're getting better, even if you don't necessarily feel better.
Yeah, you have this level, a carpenter's level almost, that you put on your hip, and a lot of times, one leg is longer than the other. And I says, well, how does that happen?
Yeah.
But when I go out of there, I'm straight, so he knows
Yeah.
what he's doing.
So thank you.
Yes.
So it is pretty simple technology. A lot of people out there brag about their latest, greatest, shiny new medical breakthrough. The pyramids weren't built with that. They just used some levels, and as far as we know, and that technology holds up today, especially if you can do something simply and inexpensively and measure the progress, you're way ahead of anything else out there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it looks like we need to take a break. We've chatted quite a while and lots of good information. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS.
Your business. Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Dave Nassani.
That's me.
Yes. Welcome back again.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
And I see a couple of little books
Yes,
beside
I've written
you.
4 books.
Four?
I'm a caregiver. Yeah, I only brought
Where
2
are
of
the
them.
other two?
Well, these are the recent ones. I didn't think you wanted old ancient history.
Oh, ancient history is always good.
My first book, 15 years ago, I wrote a memoir about my life with my wife. We had a fairy tale, storybook, romance, courtship, and marriage for the first 21 years of our lives together, entering into the empty nest phase of life. We got all the kids out of the house. We even got them all married,
Woohoo!
each one twice, because they didn't listen to me the first time. And so as we were going and contemplating, our empty nest phase and traveling, and we had money, and all of a sudden my wife complains about this headache she had for 3 days, the headache of her life, and she never gets headaches. Well, by the 4th day, the ambulance arrived, and it was too late. She had suffered a stroke, left her severely speech impaired, paralyzed on one side, and our world turned upside down. And I instantly was her caregiver. I didn't even know what a caregiver was.
Oh,
And
wow.
the next 2.5 years was a very serious grief process. She was angry and bitter most of the time, and I just didn't think we can do it and stay together. I even wrote her a letter. I said, Charlene, I don't know why you're so angry with me. I'm trying to take care of you, but I don't think I can be with you anymore. And I read that letter over and over to myself, and I says, how can I give this to the mother of my children, to my soulmate, to the one I've loved for 21 years? So I just filed it away and went on in my misery and my isolation. And somebody gave me this card inviting me to a caregiver support group. Well, like I said, I didn't know what a caregiver was or a support group, but I went. I found other people just like me, burned out caregivers. I learned how to put my oxygen mask on first. So I just started being selfish and taking care of me first so I could take care of her. And she slowly started responding, slowly started coming around, started becoming her old self again. Our love was rekindled. And I realized there's other caregivers out there who are feeling the same way. I didn't want them to go through what I went through, so I became Dave the Caregiver's Caregiver. I host a syndicated radio show now. I've written 4 books. I speak all over the country. I've appeared on 56 TV programs from Washington, D.C. to Hawaii. And now I'm taking caregivers to Acapulco, Mexico. There's a billionaire, a friend of mine has this 16-room villa in the gated community of Acapulco. And so we're doing caregiver wellness retreats there and a 6-month coaching program because they need to realize that they've got to put their needs first because 30% of them die before their loved ones do. And the next one is in June 19th.
Wow.
Want to come?
That's amazing. Maybe my daughter does. No, I was the caregiver for my husband Russ for
Oh,
quite a
bless
few
you.
months. And
It was hard,
got,
wasn't it?
unbelievably hard. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Do something about it. And I had
Support groups are good.
Yeah, well,
because you meet
that's
people
true.
there just like you.
That's
You
true.
brainstorm. Well, I tried this. Did you try that? Oh, no, I didn't know it. And it's the only way you can survive with a
Well,
support group.
it's interesting because many years before that, I had purchased long-term care insurance.
Oh, good for you.
And against his wishes, he says, no, don't do that. We won't need that. Well, I did anyway.
You're a smart woman.
Thank goodness I did because it literally saved us. It really did.
And it's cheap when you're younger. I bought it when I was 49. It was like $150. I still have it.
And why not?
I wish my wife had it.
But it was the best thing I ever did. And I have it for me. Still have it for me.
I met your
If and
daughter
when I
outside.
need
You
it,
don't want
yeah,
to burden
she
her
is.
with that. You know?
Well, my son and my daughter both come and stay with me. And there will come a point where they won't be able to take care of it because, I'm no spring chicken anymore.
You look pretty
Although,
good.
Thank you. Well,
Pretty
I
good.
had it twice.
Oh, my.
Yes, twice. Lymphoma.
God bless you.
And I'm not, I got it in my 70s and I got it in my 80s. And I said, if I get it in my 90s, I'll beat it again.
There you go.
But
And look at you on the radio for 19 years.
But you have to think positive,
Yes,
know.
you do.
And
That's a big part of it.
that is a big part of it. I think that's what saved me.
Stress is killer.
Yes, it really is. And I'm so thankful that I had the forethought of getting long-term care insurance because it literally saved my life with Russ. It really did. Because I started doing it, like I said, and I thought, I can't do this anymore. And I couldn't go to bed and get a good night's sleep knowing that he was in the living room in a chair by himself. And that's when I said, no, it's kicking in. I'm going to start calling people to come over.
I'm going to give
at
you a
night.
copy of my book. It's Your Life Too. Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver. I know you're not a caregiver anymore. Maybe you know someone who is.
Thank you.
You just
My
might saving their
children are,
life.
Yes. Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much. Oh,
What do you think of
goodness.
stress, doctor?
Well,
You have an opinion about stress?
just a little bit. From the work that Ancelia started a long time ago to now doing functional MRIs and PET scans showing how stress affects the brain, how things like arthritis in your neck can literally cause brain damage. Not just increase the stress levels in your body by constantly overwhelming the stress center in your brain, but actually, because of that activity, start causing measurable shrinkage of both the white and the gray matter in your brain.
Wow. And
And
it responds to stress by producing something in your body. What is
chemicals, yeah, stress chemicals. The one most people have some idea about is called cortisol.
Yes.
Like for athletes, if they get an injury, they get an injection of cortisone in the joint, but hopefully sparingly, because that one shot is thousands, if not hundreds of thousand times more concentrated than what the body would ever produce on its own. And we know that it breaks down every tissue it comes in contact with it. The good news is that it's instant inflammation dropout. It knocks out inflammation almost instantly, first time around. The second time around, it's a mixed experience for the overwhelming majority of people, and the third time around, it doesn't necessarily do any good at all for a lot of the people out there. Now, here's the rub. If it is giving the person the relief that they want, that they can go back out on the field and play, even though they're injured, they tend to do it more frequently than they should. And that really causes a devastating effect on all the connective tissues of the associated injured tissue. And it can not only shorten a professional career, but it almost totally negates anything that athlete has earned. It's a cautionary tale. Most professional athletes, a few years after retirement, unless they're set up and they have, professional endorsements, like they're on TV commercials and stuff like that for whatever they're selling, most of them have burned through their entire fortune on medical bills. It's way too common in professional sports. You think, he's a $1 million player. He's making $1 million a game every time he steps out on the field, and yet their bodies are taking the toll for that.
Oh,
In
absolutely.
some sports more than others, and even sports that you don't think are related to that, like golf. Look at Tiger Woods. Like, he's amazing. He is an exception to all the rules, but his body is devastated
Yes.
from the
Golfer's
game.
elbow.
Yeah, devastated from the game. All of it.
It sounds as bad as steroids, too.
Well, it is. Cortisone is a steroid.
Ah.
I'm a little touchy on the subject because my father died from steroid treatment. So it's not the magic pill that everybody hopes for. And I had this conversation with him. I didn't know all of it back then, but I didn't know enough. It was like, Dad, we got to figure out some option for you here. And he was like, I got to breathe, and that is the rationale. I've got to fill in the blank there.
Choose your poison.
Yeah, and Father's Day, 13 years ago, Father's Day, I got the call. He's gone. And it can take you just like that. And it was actually, part of the cortisone treatment creates neuropathy. Barb, you have some experience with that.
Oh, yes.
After your chemo, because of the treatment that you had for arthritis, right? Okay, so here's the rub. Your doctor never even told you that your treatment for arthritis was going to give you cancer.
Well,
Did it?
I think back then, I don't really think they knew that
No, I
that
think
was
they
the
did.
case. You do?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But anyway, so you beat cancer the first time, but the trade-off is you wind up peripheral neuropathy. That is almost disabling for you. And we were able to help you with that, too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I had it mainly in my feet. And every once in a while, I still have a little bit of it. I take medicine for it at night every once in a while because sometimes that tingling and that strange feeling comes about. And it's usually when I get close to bedtime. And so I'll take the gabapentin, and it eases it right away. Thank goodness it's not every day, every night.
It used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah, we're able to get you
Good-
past that.
You have a good quality of life. Then.
Oh, yes, I do.
Well, thank God.
For my age, I really do. It's life is
How
worth
old are you?
living. 86.
Wow.
Yep, 86.
I hope
Plan to
I'm in
keep
that
on
good
going.
shape when I'm 86.
It's not that far away for you.
I know.
if you're in your 70s now, it's coming up, and hopefully we will be here to interview you when you do. I plan to be. I ain't going anywhere
Like
anytime
Jiminy
soon.
Cricket, I want to be 101.
As long as the quality of life is there, why would you
Yes.
not want to live anymore? The problem is that most people's quality of life starts heading downhill in their mid-50s. You know, you wake up in your mid-40s and you start having the aches and pains that you never had before. And so you take some, medications, and then, you're being a good patient, you're doing everything you should, and then, by the time you're in your mid-50s, you're on at least a handful of prescription medications.
That's
Yeah,
true.
but a lot of
and
people, aren't they overweight? You look under that belly.
Well, yes, that's a
and
big
high
problem
blood
in
pressure
America
and
as well.
diabetic,
Yeah.
and, they're just not taking care of themselves.
Yeah, so doctors do what they can. I think most doctors know that diet and exercise are going to be critical in keeping their patient as healthy as possible, but they don't have the time to have that discussion. They don't have the training to implement it with the patient. So it is really just a matter of putting out one fire after putting out another fire with these medications, that once you start taking 5 prescription medications at a time, they certainly start causing their own problems that have to be managed. And eventually you get to the point where you're just managing the symptoms of treating the symptoms.
Yeah,
And this
that's
is
very true.
unfortunately the fact, or the overwhelming majority of seniors under any kind of medical care.
Well, it's so important to exercise too.
Absolutely.
My kids will take me for a walk since I'm on walk. Either that, or I'll go into the mom room and get on the bike.
Sound like that's some
pedal the
great
bike.
kids.
Oh, I do.
You did a
I
good
have
job raising
wonderful-
them. Congratulations.
Oh, they take care of me. Dee Dee and Scott both
I've been
do.
telling my daughter from an early age, I says, one day you're going to have to change my diaper. She goes, ew. I tell my grandchildren that now I'm telling great-grandchildren that one day,
You never know. Absolutely never know. You really
just
don't.
want to prepare them,
Yes, that's very true. Well, my kids have been absolutely fantastic for me.
Good.
But, they won't be able to keep doing it. And that's why I'm so thankful that I invested in the long-term care insurance, because
So
at some
smart.
point I will kick that in.
I hope you have some, Doctor.
This is not about me. My long-term care insurance is making sure that I take care of myself, and I have for the past 50 years, actually 4 years. 4 years ago, I am testing for medical, Johns Hopkins Medical School, maybe the most prestigious medical school on the planet, and I am on 5 prescription medications. I have already had 3 surgeries, and somebody who we don't even consider a real doctor totally transforms my health inside 1 year. So that's what got me started. It had such an impact on my life and my experience that I walk away from the most prestigious medical school on the planet in order to pursue my passion, right? So I put more credibility when it comes to insurance. I put more credibility on ensuring that you're healthy instead of betting that you're going to get sick.
Well, before you're 50, I would highly recommend you consider one.
Sorry,
Are we too late?
That's too late.
that train has
Too
sailed
late.
I figured you were 40.
quite a while ago. Thank you. Yeah, I've been a car-carrying team member for quite some time. Yeah.
So you're just a little behind me, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's you should have got it when you were younger.
Yeah, no, again, God, you're right. It is absolutely a great service. But the best medicine always going to be don't get sick in the first place.
Well, that's very true.
Do everything you can to stay healthy. And like Dave, I'm a published author, or the book that you both have of mine, Self-Care, is all about that. It boils down to 4 basic fundamentals. It is really that simple. And it's not, I see so because I'm this chiropractor or whatever that means to people. No, this is what all of published research out there says. All of it, from every conceivable angle. You've got to get appropriate rest. You've got to get appropriate exercise. You've got to get appropriate stress management, and you've got to get appropriate nutrition. You do those 4 things, and you are going to beat the odds hands down every single time.
That's the
Like I
reason
said, beat these. We're still gambling. We're minimizing risk.
Yeah.
But some things are out of our control.
Always.
Very
I
true.
mean, anybody could get hit by a car anytime. And that's where the conventional medical system is the best. You have the best emergency system on the planet. That doesn't necessarily translate into health. There's a big difference between life and death emergency, which I wouldn't want to be anywhere else on the planet right here, right now to deal with that. But that statistically does not improve our odds as far as health. We have some of the worst health statistics in the world. There's 50 countries that have better health. I don't know about you, but I can't name 50 countries off the top of my head. But we're not in that group. There's a bunch of people who are doing a much better job at keeping the population healthy than we do.
Yes, and we just take a break again. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS.
No other reason I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Will you leave me? Will you still feed me? I'm 64.
Practicing Hour, I'm host Dr. Thomas Polucki, my co-host Barbara Cochran. In the studio today, we've been talking with best-selling author Dave Nassani. The most recent book, it's Your Life Too, How to Survive and Thrive as a Caregiver, and Secrets from the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom for Uncommon Times. You're caregiver.com and syndicated podcast host.
Yep.
And I've been fortunate to be on your show, so I look forward to hearing that.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Thank you.
Don't tell him that, it'll go to his head.
That's
I
right.
had to make a little S.
Yeah, Chris on here.
It says, please do not curse me.
So, Dave, we've been talking about your experience as a caregiver, the stresses that are there, and the difference between what the public thinks of as chiropractic and functional medicine, some of the cautionary details, and your better than average experiences working with me.
Yeah, and really you hardly ever touch your back. It's all neck. I'm amazed at how adjusting the neck and to your lower back. It's amazing.
Yeah, that whole different show. It's called Upper Cervical Specific. I am one of 12 advanced certified instructors in that technique that teach all the other doctors how to do that. But that's a whole nother show, as I said. And Barb, you've had similar experiences through arthritis, through neuropathy, through major car accident. We've been able to help you stay on.
You're going to have to do something with my neck now.
Okay, yeah.
I woke up this morning and I thought, ouch, when I moved one side and tried to move the other side. And I thought, what the heck happened?
Well,
I
you've been
must have
through a lot.
slept- I
Yeah.
must have slept wrong.
No, okay, well, you know where I live.
Yeah, I know.
You gave me a little round pillow spawn. Did you get one of those?
Oh, I have one of those. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so it's all good. The takeaway from today's show is a lot of people are scared of what they don't understand. So many of us will be put in a position where we feel out of control, where we need to trust somebody, and the people who we trust aren't always the best people, and it's a very difficult situation. Not everybody can sit through millions of hits on the internet when you ask it a question and see what the best response is. So hopefully this show brings to light some of the differences out there available in both chiropractic and functional medicine for our senior community. You're listening to the Senior Hour at your hometown station.com, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. Now go out and enhance your quality of life.